Hi, family. So, this is a continuance of my testimony growing up. There was a couple of things that I didn't remember yesterday. One of them, some of them, the bullying, I did remember and wrote down some of it, but I didn't write down all of it. And then where I felt like I was being like stoned at times, okay? The bullying, uh, it started okay, obviously when I was like 3 with that little boy, you know what I mean? And he used in the park, he would pull my pants down and stuff like that, right? And he also choked me and stuff. But then in kindergarten, the teacher that I had, it was funny because I was listening to somebody else tell a story about their teacher or something that would pick on them. I was like, oh my goodness, I had one of those too. And it's not funny. No child should go through this stuff. So I'm going to share what happened with me. So this teacher, I don't know if she just didn't like me or she was having bad days. And I just happened to be in her eyesight or what. But one of the times was she couldn't find my tracing paper, my paper where she made copies of our names and we'd have to trace our names to learn how to write our names, right? And evidently she couldn't find mine, or I don't know. So she, in front of the whole class, she told me at 5 years old, okay, needless to say, okay, me and my family at this time in kindergarten, it was the same town where I got bullied from that little boy, but we were living in a different place at this time because we had moved back to California and then came back. But it was the same town. And we were living 5 miles out of town. Okay, so it wasn't like I could walk to the school or anything like that. Everywhere I went was with my grandmother and my grandfather, right? So she accused me of coming up to the school, breaking into the school, and stealing my tracing paper. And this was in front of the whole class. And I was getting in trouble. And I was like, like, what do you say when a teacher says that to you, right? So this teacher really didn't like me. And then one day, okay, and I can't remember if this happened before or after the tracing paper thing, but I needed to go to the bathroom, right? And I was only trained to hold my bladder until I went to the bathroom because I never had to hold my bladder. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, I didn't have a peeing myself problem or anything like that. But like, anytime I needed to go to the bathroom, like I was able to go to the bathroom. I wasn't taught to hold my bladder for a really long time. So one time I asked to go to the bathroom. She let me go to the bathroom, right? Well, the bell rang to get on the bus, but it was the first bell. And I went and got on the bus because the bus was outside waiting for the children, right? Well, it was a little bit early because I wasn't paying attention. I thought that it was the second bell. I wasn't thinking, right? Well, the next day I got in a lot of trouble from the teacher. And I think this was the time that you could actually spank the children in school, right? Well, one of the times I got like slapped on my hand with a ruler, and I can't remember if it was over the tracing paper thing or the going to the bus when I went to the bathroom. Well, the next time, okay, listen to this. The next time that I had to go to the bathroom and I raised my hand, she would not let me go. Okay? And most people were like, oh, that's understandable because you did that the time before, but it wasn't understandable because I didn't know. And it was so close to the time. You can see how a child might misunderstand, you know what I mean? But she wouldn't let me go, and I sit there, and I remember having to go so bad that I ended up peeing my pants. And I didn't do this on purpose. it's embarrassing to say, but I'm like 41 years old. It's not embarrassing. It's embarrassing the fact that I had to go through that and that a teacher actually did that. You know what I mean? Well, she ended up spanking me for this. Right? And I remember this teacher just really picked on me and was like in front of the whole class when she did it too. Right? And the only time that I really got any like where I felt safe and okay was in PE class, because we would go to PE class, which actually I ended up finding because it would be a different teacher. And I always remembered this PE class, and I actually ended up finding out it was my husband's aunt that ran later on in life that PE class that I went to. And I was like, oh, well, that's cool. You know what I mean? Because I love that PE class. But in this class, this teacher she just didn't like me. And then I told my grandma and grandpa, and they were like, what? You know, and they went up to the school to talk to this teacher, and I'm skipping in front of them. And I remember looking back at them and them smiling and laughing. And I remember looking forward like, what? You know, and like not understanding like why they were getting along. But now as an adult, I know how people can cover up stuff, like make it sound not as bad. Like, oh, maybe, you know, like, oh, no, it wasn't quite like that, or something like that. You know what I mean? Because I didn't listen word for word. I just pay attention to adults now, how they do whenever they do something bad, and they'll cover it up and like give it to somebody like with a lot of sugar on top or something, right? So down the road in school, I would get bullied. And it started like, okay, so I would go to school and be like a year or two apart. And like, there's this one little girl. Like, there was a couple different schools because we moved around a lot. And there was this one little girl, whenever I would go out to recess, she would always push me down and like want to fight with me and push me down to the ground. And then at another school, I was new, and they would come up and pull my hair. Like, people would find a way to start bullying me. And like, I didn't understand why. And I was not the most aggressive person. It seemed like I was always just in shock. You know what I mean? This one place, I was at my aunt's, and I was playing with my cousins, and I would go over there all the time, right? And she had this friend that lived like right across in the apartments from where she lived. And this little girl, every time I would go there, would throw me down to the ground and pull me by my hair and drag me. Right? And my uncle seen it. I don't know if he was just tired of seeing it, or if he just realized it and seen it. And he was like, oh no, that ain't gonna happen. Right? And he taught me some moves to defend myself, right? So I'm all pumped up, right? And I go out there because this has been happening for a long time, and I was like ready for it to stop. I go out there and I was like, okay, come on, let's fight. Well, she wouldn't fight me. She was like, no. But she never messed with me again either, though. So that was good, right? So, and then, so is there any... And then whenever I in high school, like barely starting high school, and I moved back, because I moved back to California, I was there, and then I moved back to Oklahoma when I was like 14. And I remember that there was like 3 or 4 different females, or 2 or 3 different females that wanted to fight me just because I wasn't from there and was from California. literally. Like, and it would always have to do with like them being jealous of me talking to a guy or something, or them, they would always be like, oh, you think uh something like you're bad. Like, one of them even said, just because you beat up this person, I'm gonna beat you up, or something like that. But that person jumped on me, like came, and even when I was at my friend's house, came over there and knocked on the door just to fight me. The other girl, we were at a pool hall, and she came in there and she fought me like 3 or 4 times because she wanted to win and she couldn't win, because this was after I done prayed and to be a good fighter, because I got tired of being bullied and intimidated when I was like 13. I was so tired of being bullied. And so by this time I had more courage and I would defend myself. And so there was like 3 or 4 girls that I got into a fight with, and then there was a couple other ones that would come up to me and just start going off on me. But as soon as they seen that I would defend myself, they stopped. Those two didn't get into fights, and then I defended one of my friends too, because they came up with a bunch of girls. I wanted to fight one of my friends. She kind of got bullied too, which was weird. And but yeah, that was really crazy that many people. And one of them was actually from California when she was younger, so that really got me. I was like, well, they were wanting to fight me because I'm from California, but that one's from California. Her family's from California. It's like, what? But okay, so the stoning. Yeah. Whenever I was like, I felt like the devil was trying to mess with my mind, like hit me in my mind to mess with my mind, because God has blessed my mind. I pay attention to stuff. My mind's anointed. I could see things and discern and stuff like that, right? So I was walking, this was like in 4th grade. This was in California. Me and my cousins were walking in my house, right? And she would get off the bus. Like, she went to a different school, but she would get off the bus there and walk with me to my house. And I'd walk from school to home. And there was this little boy. There's 2 different situations. One was a little girl and one was a little boy that were actually my cousin. I was defending my cousin. Okay, with the little boy, we were walking, and this little boy went and threw a rock, and supposedly he was aiming it at my cousin, but it hit me in the back of the head, and I had to have stitches or something like that. And then there was this little girl, and she came up with all her sisters and stuff and wanted to fight my cousin. My cousin was a little bit younger than me, and I always take up for my family because I love them. And she was like wanting to fight my cousin. My cousin didn't want to fight. Well, she wasn't going to stop bullying her until then, you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, well, I'll fight you for her, right? And her sisters did not jump on me. I did end up on top and stuff like that, but whenever I said that, they were like, okay, it'll be tomorrow. And she tried to bring brass knuckles or whatever, which I never got hit with them because we were little girls. We didn't even really know how to fight, right? But I ended up on top. Her sisters got me off of her, and they just left, right? I also had another situation where one of my cousins, it was a different cousin, was getting bullied in school, and this was a completely different school. And the girl on the bus, they were bullying her on the bus, and I told them to stop. And I ended up fighting one of them girls, and they were a set of twins. They could have beat me up, but it was in school, and then afterwards it was like crazy. It wasn't an outright brawl or anything. Like, the fight stopped and we went home or whatever, but they were bigger than me and everything, but I was defending my cousin. Like, I couldn't let them just keep picking on my cousin because she was younger than the other one I was defending, and she was like my baby cousin. She wasn't the youngest out of all my cousins, but she was still like my baby sister, my baby cousin, right? But that stopped. They stopped bullying her, kind of started bullying me a little bit. But either way, they left her alone. And eventually they left me alone because, I was like, I will fight you. But I was also bullied at that school when I first started going there, where they were pulling my hair and stuff like that. But it was a different set of girls, right? And I ended up friends with that girl later on, after I stuck up for myself, right? Okay, so yeah. The other part of the stoning, okay, with the head thing, I got hit in the head with the rock in that same town. I was at one of my friend's house, and we were at her pool, and her brother was there, and he was older. Well, he happened to push me in, and I cracked my head off the side of the pool, which was another time my head got busted open. Okay, and I almost passed out, but evidently I didn't pass out and was able to get out of the pool, but my head was like bleeding, everything. Anyway, so we go fast forward to when I was 15, maybe 16. So I was with my friends at a gathering, and this girl got jealous of me. I don't know why. I don't know. I wasn't talking to anybody that she would be like talking to or anything, but she started a fight with me. And we were fighting, and she did not end up on top, and I guess this made her mad. So it was like a month later, maybe a little bit longer. I'm walking down the road to one of my other friends' houses. I was walking by myself. Her and a bunch of her friends are driving by me, and I didn't know it was her at first. And some girl just started yelling out the vehicle. And she was like, oh, remember me? I'm the one that beat you up, right? Well, if she would have beat me up, she wouldn't have been doing this, right? She had something in her hand, and I think it was like a huge, huge rock, right? All of a sudden, this girl must have played softball or something, dude, because she had it and she nailed me right in the back of my head, busted my head clean, blood was everywhere. I went to my friend's house, and they're like, we want me to take you to the hospital, da da da. I was like, no, just give me something to hold on my head. I ended up being fine. I can imagine the scars on my head though, right? But yeah, I felt like through the years, the devil was aiming for my head, wanted to mess with my brain, right? He wanted to take me out, is what I feel like. He really did. So that was some of this other stuff that I went through growing up that I said that was out of the home. Some of it, a lot of it was in school. I would get bullied, and children may, just because I wasn't from some of these places, they decided to pick on the new child, the new person. So, and then some of the situations like the teacher and stuff like that. And I have had a couple adults that were just straight mean to me. I'm not going to go into all of those situations. Well, there was a couple situations. One of them was family. Well, a couple of them was family, but one of them, it wasn't their fault. But either way, I went through a lot of stuff growing up. A lot of stuff that I remember, and the Lord come in and healed me. He healed a lot of that trauma. I don't even really think about it no more. The only reason I'm thinking about it and saying it is I forgive all these people. I do, because I honestly believe it was a spiritual thing. Either doors were open, or they knew I was a child of God, the spirits, and was after me and wanted to take me out. From the time I was born, being in jail, born, how did my mom, that had to have been the Lord in her, that knew to stick her finger down my throat, you know what I mean, for me to start breathing. Because if a person don't have air going to their head for like so long, it could cause brain damage, right? But evidently she did that, and I started breathing and I was fine. Like I didn't go with any not having air for a long period of time or anything. But yeah, it was just crazy. The stuff when I looked back at it and I thought about it, I was like, who goes through all this stuff? You know what I mean? Who really, like even the trauma from men, because of my grandfather, but I loved my grandpa. Like I loved him so much, and he loved me a lot too. There I did see him, like he did leave. This is another situation I was thinking about. He did leave and was with other women, and then he would come back to my grandma, right? One time right before it was before he died, I seen him, and this was kind of heartbreaking because I remembered it later and it hurt my heart, but at the time it didn't really hurt my heart, or it wasn't allowed to hurt my heart. My aunts and stuff, we were at one of their houses and there was like a camper trailer in the driveway for some reason, and we were all in it, and some people were in it, not living in it, but in it for some reason. And we were sitting in it and stuff like that, and all of a sudden my grandpa came walking in it, and I was like shocked, probably happy to see my grandpa and stuff like that, but he looked so sad and down. He looked like he was really going through some stuff, right? But I hadn't seen him because he wasn't with my grandma at that time, right? And I was like kind of excited to see him, but he didn't say nothing to me, and he barely even looked at me. So then my aunts were like, okay, you guys go play, right? And so we walked out of the camper, and that was the last time I seen him, and he died when I was like 11. So I didn't see him out of that after that. And later on in years, I really thought about that. I was like, that was kind of heartbreaking, you know what I mean? Because I love my grandpa, like he was raising me. And that was heartbreaking. I used to have trauma from not seeing him after when he passed away and going to his funeral. I used to literally have trauma of he was still alive. Like he was still walking around alive out there. So that can traumatize a child. Just to let people know that if they don't have that closure of knowing that, it can mess with their head, because it messed with mine. So the Lord has brought me through a lot of stuff, and also fixed a lot of stuff the devil messed with my head about, because of the trauma that I had and the stuff that I went through. The Lord had to come in and like rewire some things. Basically like surgery on my brain, spiritual surgery on my brain, and cleanse me from all the bad habits, inhabiting bad habits, inhabiting good habits. So, okay, that's where we're gonna stop it there. And yeah, I kind of went into a lot of stuff in my life. I think that's good on the trauma and the stuff the Lord has really brought me from. And like I said, in that dream, he brought me out of the deep. Like I came out of the deep water in this pool and was coming out cleansed, like shining. These people were coming out shining, because I seen other people and they were all shining, and I had to get back in. That's how bad it was. Like I had to get back in. Like I remember needing to get back in. And so yeah, sometimes you gotta get back in, but yeah, there was other people that were on like pillars that were up high, and the water was washing over them coming down. So yeah, and I just came up out of the water. I wondered about that dream. I was like, there was people up higher, and because we can get this prideful thing about us when we're walking with the Lord and we've had these experiences with the Lord. We just think we know more than anybody else. You know what I mean? And the Lord has really set me straight on that, because the experiences I've had was so beautiful and they're mine. You know what I mean? Like, He's mine. And I've never heard of some of the experiences. I'm not going to share all of them. Some of them I did on TikTok. You know what I mean? There's one that is just mine. I'm not going to share because honestly, I'm not trying to make. I've gotten jealous over some things, and that one would just. Unless the Lord tells me to, you know what I mean? Like, and I know for sure 100% that I have to share it, then I will. But I don't know if that's one that I have to share. You know what I mean? So, anyway, I love you, family, and I do believe we're living in the end times. There's a lot going on. I hope this brings people to the Lord to know that He can help you, even when you got all this trauma, and stuff that has happened to you growing up. It's just, it sucks. It sucks when you think back, you're like, why did I have to go through all that stuff? You know what I mean? Like, physical and mental and just so much stuff. And that's not God's fault that we've went through that stuff. He sends the helper, the Holy Spirit, to help us. With man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. So definitely want to go to the Lord for Him to heal your heart and to walk with Him and be cleansed. Because in this world, a lot of stuff that we learn and we've went through, we think it's okay to act a certain way, but we're hurting other people when we act that way and when we're bitter and stuff like that. We're hurting people that don't deserve it. And like, some people go after people that don't deserve it, that they already been through, like me. Like, I've already been through so much, and I really didn't deserve a lot of stuff that I got put through. But the Lord is with me, okay? So we need to trust Him. I love you, family, and I will talk to you later. I gotta look at these other messages. Yeah, because those, I still need revelation on, and what the Lord really, one of them's really good. But I'm nervous about how you guys will think of me on that one in a way. But it's really good. But it shouldn't matter because the Lord was literally talking to me when I was writing. So it was really awesome. But I will talk to you later. You guys have a blessed day. God bless you.